Okay, so let's start from where we left in the previous module. If you remember, we were talking about what are the components of a sustainable design. We also talked about the three aspects of sustainability. Again, in this module, we'll start with kind of recapping how we have defined the sustainability in just briefly first few minutes, and then we'll get into other aspects of different aspects of the sustainable design. When we try to design anything, what are the things we have to take care of in terms of the sustainable aspect. So as you can see in this particular, if you remember, we talked about sustainability. It started in early 90s when with the Agenda 21 at the World Summit. So that's on June 13th, 1992. There was an World Summit on that summit was called Agenda 21, and that's where this whole concept of sustainability started. And there in that particular summit, we had the representative for almost 90% of Earth's population. So people from each and every country, including India was there, representative of the governments were there, and then they decided that the way we are making progress, that's not sustainable anymore. So when we say it's not sustainable, it means that we are using too much resources, and if that's the way to continue, we'll have problem in terms of future generation. So that's it was the single largest gathering of heads of states in the history of international diplomacy, and that's how this whole discussion on sustainability, sustainable development, global sustainable goal, and from that point onwards, every year or every year and a half, from time to time, there is a sustainability related meetings happening, usually organized through UN or World Bank and other organizations, and they can try to see how far we are making progress in terms of our sustainability goal. So the Agenda 21, that's so when we say sustainability, earlier if you look about think about the industrial output, when we say GDP, for example, GDP, which like, as you know, recently we had our budget, so GDP stands for gross domestic product, but the GDP is only looks at the how much kind of more of an economic activity, doesn't take into account what is the quality of life. So those and how happy are the people and how healthy are the people. So those aspect doesn't get captured in the GDP calculation. So the sustainable development goals, so people looked at in that early 90s meeting, the first meeting, they found out 6 broad topics where we should focus on. The first one, quality of life on earth. So having a very high GDP, the country making a lot of progress, those are great, but at the same time the quality of life has to improve. So the people should have access to basic amenities. As I have probably said in an earlier module as well, we need to have access to clean drinking water for the entire 1.3 billion people in India. So that's more critical. Say even if we have a GDP of 12%, 14%, 16%, whatever although that's too high of a number, but even those numbers doesn't mean anything unless we have access of clean drinking water. We should not have to buy this bottled water in a railway station, or rather we should have a clean drinking water in air stations, in airports. We should have access to that. Any public place, we should have access to clean drinking water. So that will be that will enhance the quality of life of general population. So that's one example, and so GDP numbers, when they improve, they give government more money to invest in these infrastructure activities. So they kind of both are related. So GDP, like a country's growth is very much needed, but at the same time it has to be a balanced growth where we also look at improve our infrastructure, improve the quality of life, have a better waste management system, have better wastewater management system, so that we are not polluting the environment. Same with the air pollution control system. So that will help improve the quality of life. Child labor issues, that's the social aspect. As you know, the sustainability is all three: economic, social, as well as environmental. From environmental, I don't want to see any environmental pollution happening. From social aspect, we don't want to see, in terms of a better quality of life, we don't want to see child labor. We don't want to see exploitation of certain sections of society, or those like environmental justice issues. So those things needs to come in picture as well. So it's a efficient. So first of all, the quality of life on Earth. Then efficient use of Earth's material. Whatever the material we have, there should be an efficient use. When we say efficient use, means better, it's more like a better resource management. So if you have a material, you use it, you don't throw it away in a dumpster or anything, you try to recycle, reuse it again. So those are the things that it goes into in terms of the efficient reuse of Earth's material. Then protection of our global commons, whatever is our common goal in terms of for the majority of the population, we should try to protect this, like protection of human rights, protection of animal rights, protection of like different sections of society, make sure everything nobody is taking undue advantage. Then if you have like management of the human settlements, if you have human settlements, refugee colonies and all those kind of stuff, they need to be managed, they need to be helped and all that. Then managing of chemicals and management of waste, so that's whatever chemicals is being used, that needs to be managed properly, so that doesn't have an adverse environmental or human health impact. Same thing with the waste like management of the waste. So waste, whatever waste is around, that needs to be managed properly, and that and ultimately having a sustainable economic growth. So having economic growth is very, very important for any country, otherwise the country will not prosper. But at the same time, have a sustainable economic growth. So that means you have a growth which does not only impacts like a fraction of the population. The growth should be such that the entire population is making progress. So our poor people are coming into getting out of the poverty line. People can, the affordability goes up. They can also afford to go to good schools. Public schools gets better, and all those things kind of goes into public transport gets better. So all that goes into our sustainable economic growth. So how do we get there from where we are right now? Right now, ultimately, this, if you look at this particular sketch, this is your sustainability, where we have no negative impact, no net impact. So there is no impact, and right now we are in kind of somewhere over here. Earlier we had more and more large negative impact. With their environmental regulations throughout the world, of course the implementation of those regulations at some places needs a lot improvement, but at the same time, because of large, as you can see in this picture, we are somewhere has been shown kind of with the dotted line you see, and with that orange circle. So we are somewhere over here. So we have made some progress. So there is not always all pessimistic thing. We do have, say, even in the Indian context, if you look at, we do have the clean water at least to I would say 60-70% of the population. We do have some sewerage network going on, even talking from an environmental point of view. We do have air pollution control regulations, we do have waste regulations, we do have a push on through the Swachh Bharat mission, push on better waste management, including both liquid waste as well as solid waste. So things are working. Of course, it can work much better, it can be, needs to be speeded up, but there are some progress being made. So we are, things are not totally bad, like it's not totally gloomy scenario. We should be, and we should always, in my view, we should look at in an optimistic point of view. So things are tend towards going towards a better situation, but at the same time we need to take it in a, we need to like accelerate it, and so that things start moving really fast in terms of better environmental control, better social control, even the social inclusion. So like how reduction of child labor, we don't want child labor, and so those things are also human trafficking, bonded labor. So all these things are being worked on wherever it exists, including in India, and things are making progress. That in some areas it's an incremental progress, some areas the progress is a little bit faster, but there are things are improving in overall if you look at. So we are somewhere in this situation where things have started moving a little bit, and then we will go towards no net impact. So we will have a reduced environmental impact, we are trying to reducing the environmental impact, then there is no net impact, and then finally we want to have a positive impact on society. So that's from our all the activities we do, that there will be a positive impact overall on the society, and that will be our goal for the sustainable development. So what is the, like in terms of looking at like how we can go there? So we have to change something. What we need to change? We need to change our approach from traditional engineering to sustainable engineering. That's a in fact, the book I suggested you, the title of the book is Sustainable Engineering. So how will you move? In traditional engineering, we are trying to solve the problems that are presented to us to the best of our knowledge, within the constraint of whatever is the approval, the regulations, and also within the financial and schedule constraint. So we are trying to solve the problem. We are trying to as engineers, what we do, we search for methods that maximizes function. So we every engineering design, whatever product, process, whatever you make, it is for a function. So your design, whatever design you provide, should meet that function. So that's one thing. And then at the same time, we are trying to minimize the cost. So we have to minimize the cost to the client. So that's our goal as a traditional engineering: maximize function, minimize cost. But now as we move towards the sustainable engineering, we have to start thinking a little bit different. We have to start, we go from this to this, where from the traditional engineering, we are going to shift in the engineering mindset. How we will have the shift in the engineering mindset? We maximize utility by minimizing cost to the client, that is there for the traditional engineering. But in the sustainable engineering, we have to, at the same time, we have to maximize social benefit. We have to maximize the social benefit while minimizing the ecological impact. So the traditional engineering was more from an economic point of view, but now we are thinking in the shift with the engineering mindset, we are thinking that we need to have a social benefit. So that's our social angle of a sustainability, and minimizing ecological impact, that's our environmental angle to the sustainability. So social, environmental, and your economic. So all three needs to come together, and that's how we can come up with a better sustainable design of a product. So if you look at this particular aspect in terms of how do we track the progress, so how do we go in terms of making the progress, or whether we are making progress towards the sustainability or not. So you need to look at the social effect, community activities, employment rates, immigration, whether those things are social effect. Economic activity is your business growth, whether business is growing, employment rates, inflation, those things gives us the indication of economic activity. Then environmental effects, so whether your water do you have any water problem, is smoke warnings like we used to see during the winter in Delhi. Hopefully this year we didn't see much. And environmental contaminations, endangered wildlife, whether endangered species, birth defects among the children that is born, which we see from time to time from different parts of the country, death rates. There are if you have a certain areas, for example, we talked about that cancer cluster in Bathinda. So severe asthma attack. So all these things gives, and they are not directly they are basically indicators. So they are giving you the indication that yes, things are not really doing very well. So if you are in Bombay or if you are in Chennai and you have beach closures. Beach closures means where you go to the beach and there is a advisory saying that don't touch the water because the water is dirty, because we had a sewer overflow or whatever could be the reason, and that's not environmental progress. So these things like beach closures, warning for the smog, environmental contamination, endangered wildlife, birth defect, death rates, severe asthma rates, and there will be several other indicators as well. So these gives us some idea of how the environment is functioning in that particular area during that particular time. So that gives kind of an indicator. So with that things in mind, we have to design towards sustainable development. We have to design our product process towards sustainable development. So when we are trying to design it, what we try to do is again, if you I think I said that in the previous module as well, where we cannot solve the problem using the same mindset which was used while we generated that problem. I'm not saying it in the correct phrase, my sequence of phrase may not be perfect, but this is exactly what Albert Einstein said, when he was alive, of course. And the essence of this is, since the problem was created, the business as usual is not going to work if we want solution of the problems that we face today. Because the problem that we face today is because of the mindset that we have today, because the way we work today. So, but if you want to solve these problems, you have to think differently. You will have to think outside the box and come up with a better solution. So, being aware of like how to design towards sustainable development, we have to be aware of the issues and impacts. And ultimately that means looking at the issues and impacts, which includes well-being of environment, which inherently includes well-being of environment. We cannot comply, and we just cannot comply and go beyond minimum requirement. We have to kind of go, we cannot just comply, we have to go beyond minimum requirement. We have to actually get better. Involve public and communities in decision making. That's another thing we need to do, like having the public and communities should be involved in the decision making. And for that purpose, people has to be like really educated. I would not say that not everybody has to be a super duper graduate degree or other stuff, but people should have the basic understanding. Unfortunately, many developing countries, including India, we have still struggling with our illiteracy rate, like literacy rate or illiteracy rate, whatever you want to call it. And the way we define our literacy is also a question mark, because even somebody who can just put a signature is counted as literate, which may not be the true, because we have to really think about literacy in a different way, because literacy, as we can say, is that's not only signing a check or signing a sheet of paper. Literacy means they can think, they can communicate, they can contribute towards decision making by giving some input. And so there were actually, if you look at, there were many old peoples in villages. You will find they may not even read and write, but they can give you a bit better feedback than many learned people around there. So it's not only whether you can sign is what is the literacy is. So but we need to involve public and communities in decision making. That's very important. What happens many times, especially in developing countries and to a certain extent in developed countries as well, the decisions are made in the boardrooms in like nice AC environment, and the decisions are made, and then the decision is passed from a higher authority to the lower authority, and when it goes to the field, there is no ownership of that decision. Say take that example of any activities the government wants to do, even say this toilet building activities. Now because of a lot of campaign and all that, there is some appreciation that we need to have some sort of like free from open defecation. But initially when this project is started several years back, and when or even today to a certain extent in many parts of the country, these decisions are coming from top to bottom. The bottom does not have much say in how the decision is made. So even the design of the toilet, 12,000 rupees per house, is that enough? Because 12,000 rupees may not be enough. And what kind of design you need? We cannot have the same toilet design for Kerala versus Rajasthan, for example. Rajasthan or Haryana, we have water shortages there. Kerala, we have no water shortages there. So if we can come up with a better design for a toilet in Rajasthan and Haryana, where we can use less water or those kind of stuff, and that will help, and that will be the long-term sustainable solution. Not like just focusing on building toilet after toilet after toilet, and most of these the toilet that we have right now are very water intensive. They need water to be for the flushing purposes, and then if they don't if they stop working for some reason because there is no water during 3-4 months of the summer, and after that it becomes so stinky that people don't want to go there. Or that's one aspect where the toilets are failing and the people are back into the open defecation. Other aspect is, since people were not, there are always people in community, if they are not taken into confidence, they always try to make your whatever the project you are doing, they will try to put you down, they will try to delay, and all those things will happen. So for that reason, it's always better to take people in confidence. And so that nobody has the question to say that we were not consulted, and those things are kind of needed. And we have to set our mindset for doing what is right. So that's very important. Even when appears to be a more difficult process, it is a step in the right direction. Even if you have to think that, okay, this may be a very, very difficult process, it will take a lot of time, but it's still, that's what needs, if that's what it needs to be done, it needs to be done. So what does that mean? It means that we have to change the way people think about sustainability. We have to change the way we make decision. We have to get we have to be more flexible to a certain extent. I'm not saying we have to compromise on quality, or we have to compromise on integrity or ethic values and all that. Actually, we have to do it better. We have to become more competitive. We have to become more ethically strong. We have to be more morally correct. But at the same time, we need to start thinking a little bit differently in terms of, okay, how to make it, how to provide a solution which is sustainable. So that's very, very important. So how will you go about it? First of all, step back from business as usual. So if you have to step back from business as usual, as we were saying, think outside the box. It's not business as usual anymore. We have to find ways to work with nature, like how we can work with nature, how to make that happen. Lessen the environmental impact. We can make the less environmental impact. Save energy, resources. We have how to do that. Build on a small success, like piloting. Don't try to go for one big thing, and then if it fails, and then the technology and whatever you're trying to propose gets a very bad name. So you start with the small successes, and then keep on making a lot of pilots, and then you go for a bigger thing. Spread the word. Market your capabilities to both existing and new clients. So the challenge here is you have to go beyond just the money. It's not only the money which is important. You have to go beyond the money to work with nature, to lessen the environmental impact, save energy resources, build on small successes. So these are, but it's not when we talk about them, when we think about them, there doesn't seems to be may not be that much challenging, at least to people who are not aware of this field. But each one of them actually requires lots of effort, and to make something happen in this particular area. So what professionals can do, like people like you and me can do, if we are a design engineer, we can reduce the material and energy use in our design. Many times we tend to over design the things. So if we can come up with a better design where we have reduced material usage and reduced energy usage, that's always better. So if you're designing a charger or a phone charger or battery for a cell phone or a smartphone, if you can come with a battery which can get charged quicker, or which takes less time to charge, less energy to charge, that's always better, and with the same amount of power, that's of course it will help a lot. So those kind of things we need to look at. Use renewable energy sources if possible, like solar, wind, hydroelectric. So those are renewable energy. So if possible, that can be used as a renewable energy sources. Maximize the lifespan of the structure. You can maximize the lifespan of a structure, and reduce the construction waste generated. That's another thing, like reduce the reduction of construction waste, even recycling of construction waste. So in ultimate, the waste that is being produced, if we can reduce it or reuse it or recycle it, that's always better. Reduce or eliminate the hazardous waste generation. That's also if possible. If we can use something better material or environmental friendly material, so we don't have to worry about this hazardous waste. So that's always better. And if we can design something which requires minimum maintenance, minimum service. Say if you think about the success of this Maruti car, the success, or to the extent of this Japanese car of Toyota and Honda, if you look at their success, it's the success is because of it's a very low maintenance vehicle. It's once you have this Maruti car, you just do it a regular servicing and all that, and then it runs pretty good. You don't have to worry too much about those cars. So that's the reason why they got the popularity. Similarly, if we as a professional, whatever we design, if we can minimize the maintenance and service required, people always like that. So, it's and most importantly, we have to design project or product with to either reduce or eliminate greenhouse gas emissions, use of ozone depleting substance, key air pollutants, indoor air pollutants, and these are all directly responsible for our climate change greenhouse gas. So, if we can reduce the greenhouse gas emission and use of ozone depleting substances like chlorofluorocarbons and all that. So, there are a list of ozone depletion substances which we are trying to eliminate from most of our products anyway. So, and try to look at the key reduction in the key air pollutants, the air pollutants that is produced, and indoor air pollutants. So, all these helps in terms of designing something better. So, what professionals like you and me can do, consider all cost beyond just the dollar that you see directly. The cost will include the energy cost will include the water, is it the raw water requirement or the treatment of wastewater, sewage, the sludge that is produced, chemicals, materials, maintenance and operation, how long the product will last, lifespan, replacement cost. So, all these costs should need to build into in terms of looking at the overall economic footprint. So, that's like a economic footprint. Like when we talk about life cycle analysis, we were looking at the environmental footprint. Here in this particular slide, when we talk about we need to get the cost associated with all these activities, we are essentially talking about our like a economic footprint. And so, for each one of those different like a cost, we need to incorporate them. And this something like this exercise is also called life cycle costing analysis. Earlier we talked about life cycle analysis, which was for the environmental part, and for the economic part we call it life cycle costing analysis. So, LCCA, that's also very popular and we do that. So, what professionals can do, for example, in some examples, so for example, in sewage treatment plant we can use the digester gas for energy, because digester gas has a lot of methane and that can be used for energy. We can use the heat exchanger on sewage effluent. We can take the heat, we can take the heat out, and then we can use it for sewage effluent to dry it up. Heat recirculation from transformers and blowers, so try to minimize the heat loss. We can irrigate using plant effluent. Whatever is the plant effluent can be used for irrigation as long as it meets the effluent treatment effluent standard. So, that can be done. So, those things in the urban development area, we can redevelop the brownfield sites. We can use pervious pavements in parking lots. That's another area where a lot of research is being happening, including at IIT Kharagpur. We have a professor working on pervious pavements. So, that's we can use pervious pavement because it helps in the stormwater system. Residential systems, we can work on that so that we can have like 2 level rather than spend like flushing too much water. We can, depending on what the usage you had, we can use a different level of flushing, and can do constructed wetland ponds and all those kind of things in those systems. Some other examples, like in transportation, we can use at public transport emphasis, we can use for pedestrian, bicycle friendly, animal bird crossing culvert, reuse of material, and all those things can be done over there. Agricultural and building system, we can design the building in such a way that we can have sun, wind, and daylight. We can maximize sunlight so that we don't have to use lights throughout the day. Maximize reuse of structure, use natural ventilation, low flow toilets, urinal, solar system to power outdoor lighting, automatic lighting control. So, all those things can be done over there. So, how you do that? You have to keep yourself up to date. You have to research and learn about new products and technology, learn from past project experiences, stay up to date, take courses like this from time to time, and so that you can keep yourself updated about the new things happening. Conferences and events, go to conference and events, look at the media and all that, and that's how things needs to be done. So, with that, we will try to wrap up in this particular module in terms of how we can go about doing a sustainable design and what are the tools and what are the approaches we need to take. So, from next in the next module, we will start from here, where we will try to look at some of these newer development that is happening in terms of the LEAD program and other sustainable design parameter program that we'll see in the next module. So, I hope you are enjoying the module. Keep up the discussion forum active. We are here to answer your questions. So, if you have any Any problem with any aspect, feel free to put your question up in discussion forum, and we'll be happy to respond. And I hope you are taking all the quizzes and you will take the final exam as well. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next module.